The Nationals are split over their opposition to an Indigenous Voice to Parliament less than 24 hours after leader David Littleproud announced they would formally oppose it. Nationals frontbencher Andrew Gee and the West Australian State Branch have broken ranks and publicly backed the Voice, while former federal leader Michael McCormack suggested the party could revise its position next year. Joining me now live is Nationals MP Keith Pitt. Thank you for joining me this morning. Are you a party divided?
Oh, not at all, but firstly, great to be with you. I mean, the Nationals have difficult discussions, as you'd expect. I mean, the most recent one I can think of is the net zero debate, where there was a majority, the most slender of majorities, and that was the position the room took. Now, Andrew's entitled to his view, but he is a member of the Shadow Ministry, and when the Shadow Cabinet comes to a formal position, he'll have to resolve that if there's a difference. But this is just a values proposition. We are one people, we are one country, and unfortunately Labor's Voice is looking to divide us, not unite us.
So has the party, though, gone too early in announcing its position? There wasn't a lot of detail in this proposal to begin with. Have you shut it down before it even has been given a chance?
Oh, not at all. As I've said, this is a values-based proposition. If you believe all Australians are equal, some are not more equal than others, then this is the position you will always take. There'll be a referendum. The Australian people will get to make a decision and have a vote. As one of those people, I'll be voting no.
What do you make of Noel Pearson's comments yesterday? He said that Jacinta Price is caught in a vortex reminiscent of Pauline Hanson 26 years ago.
Firstly, that's just outright insulting. Secondly, this is always the position of the left and the Labor Party when people actually put up different propositions and don't agree with them. They attack the individual, they look to destroy their reputation. Jacinta is an Aboriginal woman who will be of great value to the Aboriginal people here in the Parliament, but she's a senator for the Northern Territory, for all Territorians, not just one sector.
Let's move on now. I want to talk to you about Labor planning to cap gas prices. Queensland's Premier has come out and already said that she would oppose it. Is this a solution to the crisis?
Queensland Premier must have been lost for the last few years. We've said this consistently, the coalition, when we were in government. Victoria should be developing their own gas reserves. It's where it's needed, and yet the moratorium there has made it more and more difficult. You can't shift gas from Queensland's exporters in Gladstone 2,000 kilometres to Melbourne and expect it to be the same price. I mean, the infrastructure's not even there to start with.
What about subsidies, some quick relief for households and businesses doing it tough?
Well, federal Labor is following Germany down the rabbit hole. Germany's put up over $200 billion US in subsidies for power and gas prices. That is just not sustainable. The solution here is to get more gas and more power in the right places from reliable sources. But what we'll see now is you'll see apprentice hairdressers paying 30 cents in the dollar tax who will be supporting companies like Visy. Now, we'll wait to see the details of the proposal, but fundamentally, this is what Labor governments always do. They're always about the subsidy and not the solution.
But I guess Australians are looking for some relief quickly. I mean, power bills and energy bills are going through the roof now. Do we not want to see something happen at least before Christmas, before the end of the year?
Well, there are ways to do that, and that is to get more supply into the market, particularly the domestic market. But how do you do that when you have premiers like Dan Andrews, who have had a moratorium on gas exploration for 8 or 9 years and then are now howling at the moon because they've run out of gas? This was always going to happen. It can be fixed by the states, and yet they just simply don't want to do it because they're ideologically opposed. You can't play both sides of the street here. And if the taxpayer has to provide a subsidy, yep, absolutely, people are doing it tough. Right now, everything is up. The cost of living is up, gas is up, electricity is up, fuel is up, your mortgage repayments are up, and yet we see a federal Labor government who quite simply are lost. They don't know what to do. Their ministers are at one another's throats. They are out there publicly demanding each and every other one finds a solution, but that is not a united position.
Front page of today's Australian newspaper says that Labor is considering restrictions on China buying shares in Australian critical minerals. Should rare minerals be off limits for Beijing?
Well, the critical mineral supply chain is a national security issue more than it is an economic issue. When we were in government, we made significant investments to try and develop even further Australia's critical mineral resources and in the downstream path in particular in terms of production. Now, we'd work with like-minded democracies. I expect that federal Labor will continue to do the same. China is a monopoly buyer, it's a monopoly supplier. And it is in our national interest to make sure that there is diverse supply chains in critical minerals, because they go into everything from ventilators to iPhones to F-35s to destroyers to submarines.
Before we let you go, Scott Morrison is expected to be censured this morning. Do you support it?
Well, I won't be supporting the censure motion. What we see here is a stunt from Labor. I mean, they're saying that the Reps has to come back on Saturday for sittings for very, very important legislation, but they're going to waste hours this morning sinking the slipper into Scott Morrison, where we could be dealing with actual legislation. As you said, the people watching this program can't pay their bills, and yet this is the priority of the federal Labor government. I mean, seriously.
Keith Pitt, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.